Welcome back, folks, to a new video, and this is another team review video. This is episode 7, and we was the one you've all been waiting for. Vodafone, McLaren, Mercedes. Probably the worst weighted team of the year. Downfalls after last year with Lewis Hamilton, well in the running for the title. But with Lewis Hamilton leading, Sergio Perez came in, and they had an absolutely devastating season. And here to discuss that with me is Ben. Hello, Ben.
Alright, mate.
Okay, so we're going to go straight into it because, I'm a bit bored. Anyway, am I going to ask the first question?
I think so.
Anyway, so, what do you think about the downfall of McLaren?
Well, it wasn't a dramatic downfall. I think they thought they were going to do a lot better than they actually did, and they were expecting a lot more because, the 2013 car is clearly based off the 2012 car, and the 2012 car was a massive success. Although they didn't win the championship, the car was really strong. I think, though, the car was built around Lewis Hamilton, and that helped its success. However, with this season, they lose Hamilton. They try to base it off the 2012 car, and Button and Perez can't seem to get it working properly for them. I think that was really the problem. But it wasn't a massive downfall. I'm looking at a colour-coded thing here, and if the results are green, they scored points, and more often than not, they scored points.
Especially Button.
Pardon?
Especially Button,
yeah. And they were consistently scoring points, which is why they ended up with 122 deservedly, and still get a nice bit of money from the World Constructors' Championship. But, yeah, you could call it a downfall, or you could just call it a mistake, but it definitely wasn't as good as 2012 season. They've been through rougher years, and I'm sure they'll come back strong, to be honest.
But I think you'll have to agree. I think everyone was massively shocked when they saw McLaren's pace, because actually in the testing, they were fastest. So people are thinking, McLaren are going to be the fastest. And then it came to Australia, they didn't do very well.
Yeah, that excited me.
People were thinking, it's just one race, just using a couple of excuses. Then a couple of races rolled in, it's just a couple of excuses. And then it really started to kick in that McLaren's car was just not good enough, unfortunately. So I'd call it a downfall, not a massive one, obviously. Not going dead last, but it's a big downfall, only finishing 5th with the name that McLaren is.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to ask you the next one now. What do you think of both the drivers' individual performances this season?
I think that Jenson Button has been a lot more consistent than Sergio, but I think that's purely down to driving the car for a further 3 years. Perez got into the car in Australia, not really driving it, only driving it in the tests, so not really knowing, he only drove it around a couple of tracks, so he didn't really know what to do, and especially in Australia qualifying when it was tipping it down with rain. I remember watching that in 6 o'clock in the morning. I was pretty cold as well. It was tipping it down with rain. And they just had to stop it. But I think, Button, they've both done well considering the car they've had. I don't know how bad the car was because I believe that these two are pretty good drivers, but they're not in the class of people like Alonso, Kimi, Vettel. You can see where I'm coming from. Kimi, Alonso, Vettel. So, if somebody like Kimi and Alonso were in it, could they have done better? You don't know. But with Jenson's experience, I can imagine that they wouldn't have done much better. But like you say, the 2013 car was built around the 2012 one, which was built around really Lewis Hamilton. But what I'm saying, Jenson scored points on 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14 occasions out of the 19, and only retired once. He didn't actually say he retired, but technically he did. So he finished 14th for the races in points, and his lowest position was 17th this year, which isn't bad at all, really thinking about it. Perez's best position was 5th, and his worst position was 20th. He scored points on 11 occasions, so 3 less than Jenson. So I think that Perez had a very good year compared to Jenson. But looking at it, Jenson probably had the better results considering, place-wise, because when Perez was scoring like 10th, he was scoring 7th and that. although he might be not been better in qualifying, I think his race results are very good. And coming through the season, especially the USA and the Brazilian, that gives me hope for next year for McLaren, because especially in Brazil, Button started somewhere like 16th.
14th.
And 14th, sorry. And then caught to 4th. That's fantastic. Nearly getting a podium. You could have argued, well, it's just luck. But I think it's an amazing drive. And Perez finishing 6th also, so a very good performance from both of the drivers. I think it's a massive shame that they've dropped Perez. I think it's disgusting, to be quite honest, from Martin Whitmarsh. I haven't turned on him because I don't do that. I don't say, because that. Anyway, I'm not referring to anyone, wink wink. But anyway, yeah. Jenson and Perez did very, very well this year, I think, considering the car I had. So, I think that's about it from what I want to say. Anything else you want to say?
No.
So, what do you think the best team and the individuals race was?
I think one race wraps it all up, and that is Brazil. To be honest. And that is because Jenson Button had an absolutely magnificent drive, the best of the season, really showing that he is still a top performer in Formula 1. Going from 14th to 4th, I think, was something that we didn't think could be done in that McLaren. But he showed us that it could be done. I think they were having problems with developing the car over the season as well, and that contributed to their loss in points and positions. But Jenson Button seemed to get it all right in that race, and so did Sergio Perez. I know he crashed in, I think it was quali, wasn't it? He crashed in quali or practice.
Yeah, it was qualifying Q2.
Yeah. So although they had to basically, fix him up a new car, he still came 6th. So they scored some really, really good points in that race. Good for the constructors, even though they were already clear of Force India. So yeah, I think that was definitely the best team race and the best individual race for both of the drivers. You could argue maybe that India was Sergio Perez's best race, but I think he worked better with Jenson Button in Brazil, and I think in terms of performance instead of points finishing, I think his performance in Brazil was more of a better one.
Yeah, I totally agree, definitely agree there. I think that Brazil was a top-notch race for McLaren. India was a good race for Perez, but yeah, you pretty much said it all.
Alright, so what do you think about 2014 for McLaren?
Well, you pretty much said this, but I think Button can develop. I think, I don't sound silly, but like Massa and Bottas, I said this for Williams, but Jenson and Magnussen, absolutely fantastic pairing up. Jenson with his massive experience, Magnussen not really, but Jenson can get Magnussen and make him better, like Massa and Bottas. I think they can make each other better, really. Magnussen's a real talent, according to Martin Whitmarsh.
It's the same program that Lewis Hamilton went through. Well, yeah. Lewis Hamilton was with him in karting as well, but it's kind of the same.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like you say, I think hopefully they're looking to develop, and fingers crossed they have a really good car, because obviously, I don't know if you didn't know already, my favourite team is McLaren and Lotus put together, because I love Kimi Räikkönen, but he's leaving. God damn you, Lotus. But anyway, enough about Kimi, leaving him alone to tell him what to do. I've lost my USB now. Anyway, 2014. Magnussen could do well, Jenson could do well, but the car's got to be better for them to do well next year. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, sounds good.
So, what do you think is the overall rating of the team this year? Gotta be a low one.
Yeah, probably 7. 6.5, 6.5.
Okay then, lads.
For the name they have, and considering this is their 50th year, their 50-year anniversary, they could have, pulled something out of the bag, really. They shouldn't have recycled their old car.
Fair enough. So, that is it then, lads. Thank you guys for watching episode 7 of the Team Review series. I've been with Ben. Thank you guys. Thank you, Ben, for coming on again. But thank you guys for watching. I've been Tidge, and goodbye.
Goodbye.